This week's blog post is my favorite photos from 2020. These are my favorites among the thousands of photos that I took last year in New York, Massachusetts, Colorado, South Carolina, and Florida. To make the cut, the subject of the photo had to be significant for me, and the photo had to be well composed and well lit. All these photos are copyright 2020 Diane L. Durante. I've given you a link in the blog post to my favorite photos from previous years. Let me start with New York City, as we often do. I know enough New York City history to know that it will rebound, but this year its situation was too depressing to make multiple visits there. I only have 2 photos that made the cut, but they're enough to remind me of New York City as it can and ought to be. On the left, the Needle buildings seen from the south end of Central Park, and on the right, the wonderful gardens in Fort Tryon Park. This is in Purchase, New York. It's a place called Boundless Adventure. And I know those 3 intrepid explorers up there. Boundless Adventure is a series of rope courses through the trees. The green level is the easiest and the closest to the ground, and then there's blue level and black level. I think these guys are on the blue level. Next up, sunset over a frozen lake that's been partly cleared for ice skating in Keystone, Colorado. If I get to Brook Green in a given year, something from Brook Green always makes it to the favorite photos. This is a view from a building out into the gardens on the right side, and the other is a sculpture by Richard McDermott Miller called Wind on Water from 1992. I've given you a link in the blog post to my other posts on Brook Green Gardens, which have many, many more sculptures. This is from the Isabel Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, which I hadn't visited for a long time. On the left is the atrium garden, and on the right is the hallway, whose walls are painted Bardini blue, the color of the walls in a gallery that Isabella particularly liked in Italy. These are 2 interiors from Ventfort, a Berkshire cottage, otherwise known as a Gilded Age mansion, in Lenox, Massachusetts. On the left is the staircase, on the right is the dining room. This is Edith Wharton's home, The Mount, in Lenox, Massachusetts. The upper left is the exterior view. I really love those steps that are covered with grass. In the middle is the living room, and on the right is the very elegant dining room. And one more Berkshire cottage, Naumkeag and Stockbridge. On the left are some of the gardens. The gardens at this place are just amazing. I would like to have Edith Wharton's The Mount with the gardens of Naumkeag. That would be great. In the center is a Frederick McMonnies sculpture in the kind of setting it was designed for, a garden. And on the right is another one of the gardens that this one leads into the library. These are 2 images from the Morse Museum in Winter Haven, Florida. The one at the top is Tiffany, and the lower one is not Tiffany, but it's also very, very pretty. And then we move on to Harry Potter Wizarding World at Universal Studios in Florida, Orlando. On the right is the entrance to Hogsmeade with a sign that says, "Please respect the spell limits." On the right is the Hogwarts Express. This part of the train doesn't actually move, but it looks very impressive. And at the lower left, just because I think of New York as a city of magic, is a poster from Harry Potter. They do every detail so well in Harry Potter, and this was for, I believe, a travel agency. Also at Harry Potter, on the left are the gates to Hogwarts, and on the right is the dragon sitting on top of Gringotts Bank. These 2 are Sanibel Island off the Gulf Coast of Florida. On the right is a sunset. I'm very fond of sunsets in Florida on the Gulf. They're just so pretty. This is also on the Gulf Coast. The top one is sunrise off Sanibel Island, and the lower right is sunrise off Anna Maria Island, looking toward Bradenton, if you know the area. And this is sunset off Anna Maria Island. I really, really couldn't choose between these 2 pictures. This is, now we're switching to man-made wonders. This is the causeway that goes from Clearwater to Clearwater Beach. Clearwater Beach is on the Gulf of Mexico. These were taken at sunset at the St. Pete Pier in St. Petersburg. On the lower right is a monument to the Benoist, I don't know how they pronounce it, which was the first plane to offer scheduled passenger service. It went from St. Pete to Tampa, Florida. And this is one of the many cozy nooks in the lobby of the Vinoy Hotel in St. Petersburg, which dates to 1925, although this is a much later renovation. DianeDuranteWriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the free Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on your screen or email me. And you can say, "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on DianeDuranteWriter.com. Thank you as always for listening.